series of videos over the next week looking at my collection personally, and looking at top 5s or top 10s in any kind of given subject. Just kind of quite fancy doing this. I've got a bit of kind of, you know, time to play with at the moment, which I don't normally have, hence my videos being quite sporadic. But I'm going to aim to do a video every day in the run up to Christmas, just basically looking at what my top 10s are, my top 5s are in certain subjects. I'll use top 5s when I can actually find enough games to talk about, really. Now, yeah, I'm going to talk about in this video my top 10 underrated games. Now, these games that, in no particular order, and just at the top of my head, are games that I've spent a lot of time playing, but there seem to be games that are kind of, you know, quite forgotten by, you know, the mainstream press, or basically got pretty kind of lousy reviews. And I've tried to kind of like mix it up between current gen and kind of old school, really. It's not a definitive list, but these are the ones that kind of like spring to mind. Few games nearly made it to this top 10. One of them was Assault Suits Vulcan, otherwise known as Cybernator. Absolutely amazing kind of, yeah, shooter with platform sections, and it's almost like a run and gun as well. But you know, enough of you have kind of like you know, heard of that game, and you know, there's quite a lot of fan appreciation out for it, so it's not that much of a kind of cult classic, really. Another one is Flanks on the Super Nintendo as well. Another completely and utterly solid shooter, but when people kind of pull together top 10s of games on consoles, you know, it tends to kind of miss out. Even it gets more kind of hype for having a kind of terrible cover. And another one that nearly made it into my top 10 was Tatsunoko vs Capcom. One of my favourite fighting games of all time. But you know, it got good reviews. There's some really good hype out there. You can pick it up incredibly cheap. It's one of those that will probably make my top 10 in the future, but it's just not been out long enough. The original Red Faction as well was another one that made it into the top 10. A game that I absolutely loved. Not the greatest game ever, but there's something about it that kind of like really captivated, yeah, me when it came to, yeah, storyline. But another one that kind of people seem to have, you know, forgotten about, and they can remember what Red Faction became, rather than its origins. But yeah, enough of that. Enough with the kind of nearly rants. Let's do my top 10. And I've got I've got 10 games that I think are underrated, and I've got one game which I think is overrated, just as a balance point. A bit of a controversial one. Now, this top 10's not full of shoot 'em ups, which you might have thought it would have been, but there are quite a few shoot 'em ups in there. Right, first game I'm going to show you, which I think is underrated, is, there we go, Gradius Advance. A game that's kind of, you know, it's not even in a lot of people's, you know, top 5 Gradius games, it's not even in there. Stuff like Gradius 3 on the SNES, Gradius 5, Gradius Gaiden on the PS1 seems to kind of like, you know, a lot more people seem to like those games than necessarily the Game Boy Advance version, which I think is absolutely amazing. It's an amazing port for the Game Boy Advance. It's not a port actually; it's a completely original game. It seems familiar, just because it's, you know, it's got aspects from the whole series, but they're all like that. But just an amazingly solid shooter. Looks great. Yeah, it's called Gradius Galaxies outside of this country, but it's called, yeah, Gradius Advance here. As per usual, Konami, you know, really good kind of artwork, got those similar conventions. It's just a really, really solid shooter, and it takes that road that Salamander went with, where you can actually power up your weapons kind of multiple times. Yeah, it kind of takes that kind of mechanic with it and does it really, really well. I think it's one that's kind of, you know, it's kind of raising in price for a nice copy of it, but one, you know, one to check out if you can pick it up. Okay, number 2 is it's a puzzle game that I've played to death. I think it's absolutely great. So it's the one and only Super Nintendo game on this list, and it's there we go. Arkanoid Do It Again. Love my bat and ball games, and for me this is the best one out there. It really is. It kind of takes that genre and pushes it in a new direction. The artwork's amazing. Power-ups are really, really cool, and there's a kind of like a space kind of storyline going on in the background, and it's really, really amazingly presented, and it gets quite tough quite quickly, but again, you can pick up back, you know, perfect Japanese box copies for £10, and that's what I got this for. Really, really nice quality artwork as well, and it's just a puzzle I've chucked loads of time into, and it seems to be one that, you know, you've got your Tetris games, columns, stuff like that, seems to get all the kind of hype, whereas this kind of like, it seems to be a bit forgotten, which it shouldn't be. It's a very, very good game. Okay, the next one I'm going to show you is going to be a bit of a surprise. It's a Saturn shoot 'em up, as we all know. I'm quite into my Saturn shoot 'em ups, and it's there we go. Layer Section 2. It seems to be kind of not universally hated, but you know, it's not held in very high esteem. But I really like the set pieces that are in this game, and it's really competent at what it does. I think it's possibly because the original is, you know, it is so revered, to be honest. I mean, there is some argument that the original's one that kind of like, it's almost like a forgotten shooter when people talk about Saturn shoot 'em ups, but the sequel's more so, and it's one of those games that, you know, it's never cheap to buy. Do you know what I mean? It's very rare that you see it for kind of less than £20 anywhere, and you're more likely to get it for 25 to 30. But it's a great little shooter, and as I say, the 3D's kind of quite nicely done on it as well. But you know, this doesn't make very many people's top 10 lists, or even possibly even top 15 lists for the Saturn. But I think it's a great little shooter. Next game I'm going to show you might be a bit of an unusual one. I like my first person shooters, and I think quite a few people might agree with me on this choice, and it's there we go, 13. Again, one of those games, not long after it came out you could pick it up in bargain bins. I think I picked this copy up brand new for about £3, and it's one of those ones, if you played it through, a lot of people love it, and it's one of those games where you know, there was always going to be a sequel for it, as the storyline went. As the storyline went at the end, it was like the left it's, you know, ready for another one. Never happened. Really, really annoyed me, because the game itself's great. It's got really nice cel shaded graphics. It's actually got a fantastic storyline as well. And you know, it's one of those games that was just ripe for expanding, and I think there's starting to be a turn of opinion, you know, regarding this game. But you know, I know a lot of people that speak this game in high regard. It got average reviews when it came out, and you know, there are a lot more kind of glamorous first-person shooters out there that get in other people's lists. But I think this is excellent. It's just that cel shaded part's really well implemented, and it's like playing through a comic book, but from a first-person viewpoint. It's great. Right, the next game I've got here is it's a one-on-one fighting game, and it's, there we go, Guilty Gear X. I suppose this kind of represents BlazBlue as well, because yeah, the game the game, like BlazBlue, it's by the same people. It's very highly regarded in kind of like fighting circles, but outside of that, you know, everyone's about the Capcom fighters. Everyone's about SNK. Not everyone, but you know what I mean. But this this crept out on the Dreamcast. It came out on the PlayStation 2 as well, and for me, it gives a lot of the bigger name titles a run for the money, because graphically it's stunning. It feels fresh. The characters are very kind of interesting as well, and it's just a completely and utterly different approach to a fighting game, and it's great. It is just great. I think it might be the kind of like heavy metal stylings that I like in it as well, but I do think this is an underrated game, an underrated series, really, to be honest. You know, hopefully it'll come back to this, but yeah, definitely on my list. This one, the next game, is it's criminal. It's criminal how underrated this is, and it's Mad World on the Wii. I mean, what what more could you want? It's got an amazing kind of black and white, yeah, kind of really dark, stylized graphics. Yeah, the storyline's just, it's a game show basically. It's almost like The Running Man, and just ridiculously violent, and it's like a 3D fighting game where it actually works. I'm a huge fan of, you know, Final Fight, Streets of Rage, and for me it's a bit of an extension of that. Mad how cheap you can pick this up. That's appropriate. Ridiculously gory, and got fairly average reviews when it came out. And I don't know how it's one of those games that people seem to love or hate, and I think it's fantastic. I've spent lots of time on playing this. It's ridiculous, but you know, great game. Yeah, I can't say any more about that. You can pick this up for £4 brand new. I've seen this in Game Station for £4. So, you know, another one for the list. The next underrated game I'm going to show you it's a tricky one, because on the time of release these sold really well. This series of games, sorry, and you know, the reviews for the games were pretty goddamn good. But I think it's a series that's been forgotten to some degree, and it's probably because, I mean, we've not seen a release this generation, this series, and I don't think we're actually likely to. It's almost like Capcom's forgotten series, really, and it's Onimusha. Now I know there was a big series of games. Yeah, I've picked up Onimusha 3 actually, because I think this represents the best game in the series. But this choice in my top 10 is basically represents the whole Onimusha series, and again, I absolutely love the series, and it's one of those series, as I said, I almost think it's been forgotten. I'm probably going to get quite a few people saying we've not forgotten it, like, but I love kind of like, I love the storyline. I love them slash 'em ups. I even like the pre-rendered backgrounds as well, because they're quite gorgeous in some respects. And you know, in games like Resident Evil, I get in the 3rd and 4th makeup, for me, I think that this series should have had a 3D makeover or a compilation, because there's a lot of game there, and yeah. Want to add? Okay then, sorry for the breaking footage there. I was in full rant mode, but the wife kind of like brought me up a cup of tea, so I gave me a chance to break up this video nicely and to kind of recharge my voice a little bit, because I've been ranting away for over 10 minutes now. So yeah, gives me a chance to regather my thoughts. So we've done 7 games so far, and it's on to the last 3 now. The next one I'm going to show you is, there we go. It's Pinball Hall of Fame, the Williams Collection. Now, Gottlieb Pinball Classics could have equally been here as well. Like shoot 'em ups, pinball games seem to be a niche market, possibly even more of a niche market. Yeah, basically I love pinball. I've always loved kind of pinball in the arcades, and kind of like I like some of the digital kind of representations as well. Stuff like Pinball Dreams, Pinball Fantasies. You know, absolute great set of tables. The good thing about this is about this collection is the fact that they're real pinball tables, and playing through this I can kind of remember, some of the tables that are actually on here. Absolutely amazing series. PSP version didn't get a release in Europe, unfortunately. It did get a very, very limited release on the PS3 and the 360. I've picked up the PS3 version recently, not put it on video yet. But it's 10 real pinball tables, all kind of represented perfectly as well. It's just an absolute, godsend to a pinball fan, really. And it's purely about score attack as well. I mean, you can do cool things on the tables, getting bonuses and stuff like that. But yeah, it's purely about the score attack, and the nature of the game is it's very kind of pick up and put down, or very addictive if you just want one more go, as it were. But the fact that this, it didn't get a PSP release, very limited kind of PAL release as well, mean that it didn't kind of get the hype it deserved. And I think it's probably down to the publishers not actually pushing it that much either as well. But absolutely great compilation. I mean, the Capcom and the Taito arcade collections get lots and lots of kind of credit, and they're very, very good collections. But this is, from a pinball point of view, is it's on a par. So one to pick up, I'd say. Very cheap to import from the US as well. It cost me less than a tenner to get that over here. So it's well worth it. Now, I said there wasn't going to be any kind of like chronological order, any kind of like rank order really with these 10 games, but my feeling is the last 2 of these are kind of really, they are absolute underrated gems. They really are. I'll start off with this one, and it's a game called Ninja Blade. Absolutely love my slash 'em ups. The last 2 games are slash 'em ups, but this game actually got quite panned. Got very average reviews. Got criticised for the dubbing of the game and the way that the game plays. But for me, it's absolutely perfect. Loads of ninjas, martial arts, loads of kind of tentacle demons. as well. Very, very Japanese game. It's by From Software, who are known for King's Field and, of course, Demon's Souls. And it's suitably hardcore as well. Yeah, you can power up your character as well. You can do speed run throughs and levels to get better rank rating. And it is a bit goofy in places, but I think it's absolutely great. And there's not much love for the game out there really, and it's a shame. It's a shame because I think a lot of you lot have probably got this and like it. And you can pick it up for a £5. It's a great game, and yeah, check it out. Last game is a game that I've played through in total probably about 5 times, and I've actually bought it 3 times as well. So, Dante's Inferno follows the kind of like well, it's quite true to the original poem that it's based on, and it's just this kind of this vision of hell, which I think's amazing. Yeah, it's very, very, very well executed, I think. It's a slash 'em up again with power ups, and you can buy yourself extra moves, and it's just a quality game. Storyline's fantastic in it. There's some really nice animated sequences. Got fairly average reviews on release. It didn't help it the fact that it was released at the same time as Bayonetta. It was around about that time, and obviously Bayonetta went on to be really successful. Whereas Dante's Inferno is a bit of a slow burner. That's not to say it's bad. And again, you can pick it up very cheaply. I mean, the version that I've got there, it's the deaf version, and I picked that up for around about a tenner. And it's just a lovely game, and it's not hugely highly regarded. I mean, it's not hated, but yeah, as I say, I've played it through so many times. PSP, PS3, and the Xbox as well. I've played it through twice on the PlayStation 3. It was really the first game that I actually bought for the console. I mean, that doesn't kind of colour the way that I kind of feel about the game, because I've played it regardless. I think it's great, and one to check out. So that's my top 10. So I'll put my last game up here to show you, and it's one that I think's kind of overhyped, and it's wait for it. There we go. Hellfire on the Mega Drive. This is the opposite to my top 10. It's not a bad game. I actually think it's a really, really good shoot 'em up. But there's a lot of love out there for this game, and for me, the Mega Drive port, having played the PC Engine CD version, this is a pale imitation of that. I'm sorry, I hate to say it. Again, got amazing reviews. I think it's a touch overrated, and that's not me criticising people that like this game. Personally, that's just my opinion. Yeah. Saying that I've played the PC Engine version and I think it's better, I still think that's a quite limited game as well. I think the level designs are a bit samey. Not keen on the way that you kind of like the control system works either. Yeah, I think something like Guy Nuke appeals to me more. That got a PAL release. Obviously the Thunder Force games, I just prefer those games to this. So that's my overrated choice. Quite controversial, I think. So that's the first part of this. I'll think about something to a top 10 or a top 5 for tomorrow. Sorry, this might have gone on for a bit long, but I'm doing it for fun. And yeah, if any of you kind of like want to list your choices, that'd be really cool. as well, just to see what your top 10 underrated games are. But you know, if you don't, I'm not offended. So I will see you all tomorrow. Goodbye.